So, hello and welcome to this edition of Inner Compass 5 Photos. And I'm delighted with me today is Elizabeth Lovius. So she's a leadership coach, well-being coach. She's passionate about young people and well-being. And I think today is all about tribe and community. And it's something, Elizabeth, that really touches me. The theme you chose today was tribe. And that really does seem to be what you're all about, as far as I can tell. So was it difficult, easy choosing your 5 photos?
As soon as you said the word community, I knew I would talk about tribe. And then as soon as I knew I was talking about tribe, the 5 photos appeared, just like that.
Just like that. Excellent. Well, let's get right into those 5 photos and let's see what your first photo is all about.
Okay.
Well, here we are, photo number 1. Take me through this. How does this relate to tribe, Elizabeth?
Well, you can probably tell if you're looking closely, that's a wedding photo. And on that photo are a lot of our tribe, not all of them. And I really use this to say, well, this is what I was born into. I was born into a tribe. I was one of 23. I was the eldest of 23 grandchildren. And my mother was the second eldest of one of 9 children. And they all emigrated and went from Holland to Australia, where I was born, but my aunts and uncles were mostly born in Holland, and they had to recreate their life. They had to start from nothing with a large family. And, you know, I didn't know anything other than my tribe. There was loads of people all the time, everywhere. I was young and I got incredible intention. I had so many role models, so many aunties to talk to, uncles to play with. And I was just completely loved for who I was. There was room for everybody to be who they were in this tribe. And, you know, you could be a quiet fishing uncle, you could be a noisy, kind of bossy auntie, you could be, you know, really creative, you could be really academic. It didn't matter. You belonged. There was room for everyone. And the tribe would bring in other people too. And what's just the last thing on this photo, what's hilarious, this is an example of how the tribe is. When I was getting married, my aunties and uncles, there was no, they decided they were coming. They were not invited, they came. That's how it works in my family. Oh, one of our tribes getting married? We'll be there. And they organized and booked. And of course I did invite my aunties and uncles, but it was hilarious, you know, the assumption that when we have something to celebrate, we do it together. When we have something to be sad about, we do it together.
I love that. And you know, the word that really pops out at me as you're speaking is belonging. There's a real sense of belonging and being together. Great. Well, let's look at your second photo.
You know, belonging and being together is a really basic human need and missing in our world today, and tribe really fills it. But there's nothing more, and I may get emotional here, there's nothing more powerful than when one member of your tribe, an immediate tribe, is going to die. And that's what this photo represents. My immediate family, which is me and my 3 sisters. I'm one of 4. And the sister second on the left is Suzanne, and she has now passed away. And we got some warning about 18 months that was likely to happen. And I remember thinking, I know what needs to happen now. I'm the eldest sister. She needs to come and visit us. And in our world, we need to go to Australia and visit her. And we need to spend a final Christmas together. And we all need to go as a tribe, as a small tribe, with our husbands and our kids, and spend a week together. We've never done that. And that's what we did. And this is a picture from that week that we spent. Mostly it rained. There was all these, you know, kind of teens and adult children, and all of us and my mum. And we each night, a new little group cooked, we actually did cross family teams who cooked a meal together and played a game together. And each evening had its own flavor brought to life by that little team. And we knew what was coming, but the power of the tribe to heal and to connect and to navigate life's huge events just, I think, supported this passing to happen. And we will always have that. We will always have that time when we all came together. You know, it's like the conch was blown and we came together. And it, you know, I'm glad that happened.
I mean, I really get that sense of togetherness, and you use that word healing, which there is something about human beings gathering together and just being with each other that is in its own right healing.
I love how you say that, and I know that to be true.
Yeah.
Which is why I've always wanted to recreate that feeling of tribe wherever I've gone.
No, I get that about you. Shall we move on to your third photo?
Well, it's a nice segue, really. So this is me on my 50th birthday celebration. And I have now created my own tribe in the UK with my own friends and my own story. And I've always kind of brought people together. But I remember when I was 49, we were all, a number of us camping, and it was beautiful, you know, poo sticks in Tunbridge Wells in the South Downs, St Ives camping, absolutely gorgeous. We're having a great time. And I'm thinking ahead to my 50th, and I suddenly get this vision of a pop-up festival in a field built by the community. Everybody plays a part. Everyone has something to offer. Everyone brings themselves to the whole. And I was the vision holder. That was my job, and the kind of instrumental person. But everyone had a place. And what you're seeing here is a picture of the ceremonies. We all had our own ceremony. It turns out there were 4 of us who were going to be 50 that year: Elizabeth, Linva, Martin, and Annie. So we created Elmer Fest. And it goes down in history. I mean, it was unbelievable what happened in this festival. It was a 3-day camping festival. Somebody appeared and built a Burning Man, and which we burnt at midnight, and its head toppled off and it fell down, and everyone who was there experienced that moment all together. Someone else did games for the kids. Someone else did aerial displays. There were loads of DJs. I have a lot of DJ friends. So, you know, it was like everyone brought their talent and their gift to a field in East Sussex to celebrate 4 of us. But it was really all of us that we were celebrating. And it was what's possible when people co-create together and do what they love and bring what they have. You know, it's magic. It was like a little mini Glastonbury, honestly. It was amazing.
And that's, you know, what comes to mind there as you say that is it was almost like creating the space, and then it naturally is filled with community, with collaboration. There's a difference between that excessive thinking and planning to make something happen and facilitating a space in which it emerges. And that's what I get a sense of it here in this beautiful celebration.
You know, I didn't know that so well then, but I do know now about the power of the space and making a space and inviting people to that space. There's something very, very powerful about that.
Yes, that strikes me too, around community creating.
Yeah.
Well, let's move on to the next photo, which is one that's very close to my heart.
Yes. Well, Elizabeth Scott, you appear in this photo.
I was in the red frock.
Yes. Now, you know, you were there, you know. We had an idea, the 3 of us, to do a conference, and we just really felt it was to do with young people and resilient young minds, which is one of our mutual interests. But the other mutual interest we all have is community. And we honestly only really thought properly as far as the actual conference. And we created that space we're talking about for like-minded people to come together who did not know each other. But you will attest to this, Liz. At the end of this 2-day conference, even actually at the beginning, but definitely by the end, the feeling in that room and the people online who attended was like we were one. We were one in what we wanted to, what we cared about. We were looking as one in the same direction, and we saw hope, and we saw possibility together. And then from that moment of seeding, lots of little shoots have gone in all sorts of different directions to bring to take a little bit of that energy that was created in that conference, and people have taken that into their hearts and done something with that in their own world, in their own context. And that is the magic that you cannot predict, control, decide. It's something that has its own energy, its own life force. And yet we definitely were the holders, the container for that to happen. And, you know, I can really see so many threads that started for me in that experience.
And me too. And just as you were speaking about it and reminding me of that energy, of that feeling of connection and oneness, and I really got shivery, actually, because there is something about a common vision that when we bring people together around that, again, it's like what naturally emerges is way beyond anything anybody can imagine.
Absolutely. I'd like to say one more thing about this, because I've had the blessing of working with literally thousands of people, hundreds of teams, which are their own little ecosystem, their own little community or tribe. And when they all settle down and they feel the love, they're like, oh yes, it's like they're a gang and everyone else is out there and they're the gang. And I have realized that it feels like it only is us. It's only us who went to Resilient Young Minds, or it's only us who have this particular understanding, or it's only us who do the happy startup workshops, or it's only us who've done landmark education, or it's whatever. So I've been in loads of different tribes. And here's what I see. When people settle down, that deep understanding, that deep feeling of oneness and us is available everywhere, all the time, with anyone. Everyone can be our tribe. When we settle, the human tribe, when we settle down enough to go beyond what separates us to what connects us. I'm very passionate about that.
I love it. So let's move on to your final photo. I recognize this man.
Yes. Well, that's Ian Watson. And he's my business partner in the Wisdom and Wellbeing Consultancy and Collective. And so I'm talking, he's listening. That's pretty much what we do. But there was an occasion relatively recently where we were like digging deep and looking at what really matters to us. And we realized it was community, and Ian's been establishing a number of communities, and he did the talking and I did the listening. And we really saw together that what we want to do is create a tribe of people that help point other people back home on the inside. Because I think that's what the world's looking for. That's what we're all yearning for. We all just want to be at home and at peace on the inside. And we lose sight of that we've already got that. We've already got it. And so, you know, when the clouds are obscuring our sunshine, we can get lost. Even, you know, me too. And that's why we need each other, to remind us who we are and where peace lives. And, you know, whether that's a professional well-being practitioner or just a good friend, it doesn't really matter what that is. If you want to help point other people back home, we want to help you. Because that's ultimately, you know, imagine a world where everybody was one person away from someone who could point them back home. So we have decided that, you know, what we care about is supporting those people and creating a community, because it's a cold world out there sometimes, Liz, you know, and it can feel like there's a lot of suffering and a lot of things that need fixing, and we can easily get caught up in that. And yet when we come home to the fire of community and we sit around the fire of community of like-minded people, we take a little bit of that fire into our souls and we bring it back to light our own fire in our own community. And that is really both rewarding and nourishing, but hopeful. You know, that's how the light is shared. And that is really that little bit of fire to help people find their way back home. I'd love to, for me, that's what makes a community worthwhile, is having that.
I mean, that to me just touches me so deeply. I love that metaphor of the fire. I've not really heard that before, but I really get that, where we can all take something from one fire and it is never diminished by that, and we can start our own fires and create community around another fire.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
That's what we're up to.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, Elizabeth, those were wonderful photos. I feel very touched. And as you know, community is so much a part of what I'm about. And you seem to have articulated things that I've kind of had as feelings and ideas, but I kind of feel like I've got more of a grasp on them. So thank you very much for that. What if people want to get hold of you, Elizabeth? How can they do that if they want to learn more about you as the maker and creator of tribes? How can they get hold of you?
So if you work in an organization and you're a leader, then you would talk to me as elizabethlovius.com, because that's my background, is leadership development and building cultures, which is nothing more than a tribe within an organization. So that's my area of expertise. And then the other piece that I mentioned at the end there is about, if you're someone who wants to help people find their way back home, we have a whole lot of offerings where anything from just getting a taste to all the way through training with us as a wellbeing practitioner, and that's wisdomandwellbeing.co.uk. So elizabethlovius.com for the organizations, and wisdomandwellbeing.co.uk if you'd like to help point people back home.
Elizabeth, it's an absolute delight being part of your tribe, and long may it continue.
As you are.
And thank you so much for taking us through your 5 photos.